So the audience reaction episode for The Lone Ranger went up on Wednesday when the film opened here in the United States. But a number of you have been kind enough to ask for my own review of the film, and since it was my choice for the 4th of July, today I'm going to share my own thoughts on The Lone Ranger, starring Johnny Depp, Armie Hammer, and directed by Gore Verbinski. I would say that the beginning of this film is phenomenal, and there are parts throughout where it's a perfect 10, where it's firing on all cylinders. That said, though, about halfway through, I started to get bored. And at first I wasn't sure why, because as I said, it just, in so many parts, it seems so perfect. But I've been thinking about it, and I have a few theories as to why it started to lose me. And I feel it lost most of America, as you'll see from the box office results. This movie's really not doing well here. The first is that they chose this weird narrative framing device where they had like an older Tonto at this exhibit, kind of like in the future of the world of the film, telling the story to a young boy dressed as the Lone Ranger. It's kind of like nostalgia. And I can kind of see where they're going with that, the sadness of what happened to Tonto. But narratively speaking, from a structural standpoint, every time the movie would start to pick up momentum and they would cut back to this, the storytelling device, it was just like, pulling on the brake. And it just pulled you out of it. And I think maybe they just did that one too many times, that they just couldn't get the momentum back up. The other problem, and also, by the way, because they were showing future Tonto, it was really bothering me, like what happened to future Lone Ranger. I guess they were hoping you want to see a sequel because of that, but for some reason during this movie, it would also pull me out of it a little bit. But the other thing is that, at the big climactic battle at the end of the film, they use the Lone Ranger theme song, which is, the classic William Tell overture. And when they first started to play it, I was like, are they really going to go here? Are they really going to do this? And it made me laugh out loud in the theater. But I don't think it made me laugh in a good way, because it had such a, for some reason, the William Tell overture is a great piece of music and it's classic. But for some reason, when you pair it with the Lone Ranger, it kind of gave the movie this Saturday morning cartoon feel, which I also think, slowed down the momentum of the picture, anything it had left. Especially because there were some such dark moments that were so beautifully done. There's a touching moment in the canyon. I mean, if anybody knows the Lone Ranger legend, you'll know what I'm talking about or have seen the movie. But there's a touching moment in the canyon between Armie Hammer and, I think, James Badge Dale, who, by the way, is getting a lot of work these days. He's in Iron Man 3. He had a small, he was in World War Z, and also he was here, and he was very good. But there was such a beautiful moment that really it was just so sad. And so to end the movie with this like kind of Saturday morning cartoon shoot 'em up train action sequence was a little bizarre. And when I was watching it, I was like, I know it's the William Tell overture, but I think maybe you should have modernized it. When I saw like the original Ghost Rider, they did a fantastic modern updated version of Riders in the Sky, which just totally made that movie for me. It was amazing. And so I feel like if they had done something like that here, that would have worked. Or if they'd used the Lone Ranger theme song in the beginning of the film and kind of set that up, almost as like the opening. It would have been a good light opening. Although I loved the opening of this film so much, I don't know if I would really recommend they do anything different with it. But, again, this didn't quite work. I thought the acting in the film was fantastic. I thought Johnny Depp did a great job as Tonto. I didn't think he was too much like Jack Sparrow at all. And I thought he was very respectful of Native American culture. I really liked the character that he created. And I loved Armie Hammer. I mean, he seemed like a movie star through and through. But considering how poorly this movie is doing at the box office, we'll talk about that next week, this week, coming up week at the beginning of the week. But right now, it's just getting slaughtered by Despicable Me. But even if Despicable Me wasn't in the marketplace, it's just doing so poorly. I'd say it's like Prince of Persia underperforming. That I think Armie Hammer is going to go the way of Taylor Kitsch, who I thought was a great John Carter. So, boy, Disney sure is killing a lot of careers. And I everybody else was good in the film, across the board. Great acting, great cinematography. I really did like a large part of the film, but just for some reason, it didn't work. So would I recommend you go and see The Lone Ranger? I think because it hits that perfect moment so many times through the film, and because the performances are so good, I think you should see it at some point, but I don't think you need to rush to see it at the theater. And if worst came to worst, you could totally see it on demand. But I think it is worth seeing at some point. So have you seen The Lone Ranger? I've seen some people just, not only do the critics hate it, but I've seen a number of you saying you disliked it online. So share your own thoughts down below why it didn't work for you, and what you think of my thoughts on the film. So as always, Thanks for watching. Thank you for requesting my thoughts on the film, and I hope you enjoyed this review, and I hope to go beyond the trailer for these other movies. Bye.